friend Baroness Hamway has so eloquently summarised that is not only negative but deeply alarming. In its current state, the bill has the potential to disrupt the family life of British citizens resident in the EU, risks creating bureaucratic quagmire for EU citizens after the settled status deadline expires, and will leave all of them without physical proof of their rights to live in the UK, a point that I will come back to in committee. Its very first clause abolishes free movement. From January next year, EU citizens will lose their free movement rights in the UK. At the same time, every British citizen will lose their right to live and work and travel freely throughout the European Union. EU citizens will lose their rights and privileges in one country. British citizens will lose their rights and privileges in 27 across the European continent. Ministers who enjoyed those rights for the majority of their lives have ensured that they are stripped from their children and their grandchildren forever. They have shrunk the horizons of our country and of our children's futures, and it is a shame. My Lords, I recognise that the government won't reverse course, but I hope they will at least reduce the impact by listening to the arguments to improve the bill as it progresses through the House. I want to focus on three particular areas for improvement. The first is in respect of British citizens resident in the European Union. Those with non-British spouses and family members need to know that should they wish to return to live in the UK with their families, they will be able to do so. And all British citizens living in the EU want to be reassured that we will uphold the treaty rights of EU citizens in the UK, the better to insist that they are upheld for our citizens in the EU. Secondly, the current Prime Minister and Home Secretary made a categorical commitment to EU citizens during the referendum that they would retain exactly the same rights as they had before exit. That promise has long since been betrayed, but at the very least the government could make one small concession and provide EU citizens with settled or pre-settled status with physical proof of their right to be in the UK. It is a small thing to ask, but it would make a huge difference, especially to the elderly, many of whom are particularly anxious about the current digital-only status. Finally, I urge the government to amend the bill to guarantee that the rights of EU citizens will not be subject to alteration by ministerial fiat, but will be guaranteed in primary law. My Lords, in conclusion, let me just make this appeal. The government has the opportunity as we consider the bill to accept amendments that will bring it at least a little closer to the promises that were made in the referendum campaign, and to help alleviate the anxiety felt by millions of people who are facing an uncertain future. To do so, they will need the strength and humility to swallow their pride and do the right thing. My Lords, I hope they will find it.
My Lords, I go back and call again Baroness Cousins.
Thank you. My Lords, my concern is the negative impact of the